So today, I'm here to do something small to challenge the industry, all of us. Because there is a sea change coming in this industry. We all know it, we feel it. We're stepping into the age of AI and automation, and anyone who fails to realize that will die in this industry. Heavy stuff. So today, I'm here to do three things. Number one, going to challenge some of the norms and the things that we've come to accept with new data and new research. I'm going to showcase examples of what's possible with technology and innovation in the SEO space. And then I'm going to present some practical ways that you can, all of you right now here today, take part in the wave of what is coming next, because we have a golden moment of opportunity today. We must seize it. We can actually together collectively reshape page one of Google. Who believes we can do that? I do. Why don't you? Believe in yourselves. It's important. There are no rules but what you make them. Tomorrow's winners will be the researchers, the engineers, and the rule breakers. Not Google's acolytes and not the Google sheet, but the bolt. The war for SEO supremacy has begun. Who here believes that AI is capable of fully automating SEO? Please raise your hand. Wow. Only about 10% of the people in this room believe that AI is capable of fully automating SEO. What does that say about the rest of you? We'll find out. So we have a live poll in the app. So if you guys wouldn't mind, jump into the Woo app and look for the live poll. The question is something like this. When doing link building, which metric do you use the most? So please just vote for the one that you use the most. We're going to come back to this in a bit. First, we're going to talk about Musk. A couple weeks ago, I'm sure some of you guys have seen this headline that Musk paid $3 billion to build Colossus, one of the most powerful supercomputing infrastructures on the planet. Of 100,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs, and this is no small task, would have taken teams over 4 years to build, and these guys built it in 19 days. The AI arms race is accelerating and it's underway. But what about the SEO arms race? Okay? Elon's not here today, but we do have many other heavyweights in the audience here with us. So it's a war. Who's going to win? Is it going to be James Dooley? Always let. Where is he? James, stand up. Where are you? There he is. I can tell you one thing, it's not going to be James. It should be Korai. It should be. You know why? Because Korai has done more research into the Google patents than anyone in this room, okay? Number two, he actually tests and measures to see what works, and he's got a pedigree in engineering. It could actually be Irfan, though, as well. Yeah. Irfan, he's the man that leaked the Google Op rule, right, to Rand and Mike King. And why Irfan? Because he knows more Google secrets than anyone that I know. Number two, he's bold. Does not give an F. And three, he never sleeps, which is a big advantage in this game. But I'll tell you one thing. We know that it's not going to be James Dooley. That's for damn sure. All right. But by the end of my talk today, you guys might actually just find out it's going to be me. Things change, like it or not. Okay. That's the truth. The marginal cost of synthetic information is approaching zero. And we have this big question about what is real. What is authenticity right now in content? Google's algorithms are trying to understand this. It's a very complex topic. Any of our playbooks that they're from 2023, understand that those are obsolete, they're out of date. Your secret sauce is now on everyone's shelf. The new era of opportunity is meant for the bold, with imagination and with courage, who are willing to do things differently. Today we're going to talk about what's different about what we can do, what we can actually be doing with SEO, and talk about how the industry is changing. But I'm going to tell you one thing that is not changing. This industry is still a $10 trillion ecosystem. It is massive, huge. You guys are all in the right room. Because one thing that will never change is people will need to be found online. The what is not going to change, right? When we call a taxi, we use Uber, the taxi shows up at our door. That is going to change, but the how is what has to change. One of the problems in our industry is that it's got a lot of issues with it, right? There's a lot of snake oil, there's a lot of nonsense. In fact, these stats, guess what? These stats are all made up. SEO is a statistics manipulation business if you want it to be, all right? It's a big problem with our industry. Vanity metrics, optics, illusory backlinks that don't actually do anything, but they seem to make the clients happy. And that's why people pay. The SEO industry thrives on consumer confusion. And that's how it protects itself. What's not made up, though, is that people do not trust SEO. They don't trust SEOs at all. Actually, I like to say if SEO were a kiddie pool, it'd be bright yellow because of how many people have peed in it. And that's a fact. But now we're more mature than that, and we have to evolve beyond the snake oil. We have to have a good old return for math and science. SEO is evolving, not just the practice of it and how we do it. Obviously, that's changing a lot, but even Google's ranking factors and the algorithms. And I think we should all expect over the next years, we're going to see even more changes. In a world where information can be created and costs zero, what does that do to how the ranking system behaves? We should expect to see change. The old way that SEO is done, static SEO, it was about doing things manual keyword research, manually updating websites, changing pages with our hands. And it's a slow way. This is the antiquated way. The emerging way is AI-supported SEO, where there are AIs for specific tasks. We're using complex custom workflows to use that AI in automated ways. And there's a lot of skepticism of what AI can and cannot do. Only about 10% of you believe that AI can actually automate SEO. There's still a lot of skepticism. And there's a new way coming, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Dynamic SEO, which is end-to-end AI-assisted software, where AI is learning from our first-party data to make decisions for us and execute a holistic framework, instantly implementing on our websites at scale seamlessly, not driven by humans, but QA'd by humans. And the results and the procedures are rigorously tested and validated. I'm Manick Bhan. I'm the founder, CEO, CTO, Search Atlas Group. You guys probably don't really care where I'd have been. You're wondering more, where am I going? And the only thing that should matter to you is that I've been obsessed with solving this problem for the last 7 years. We have done research for the last 7 years. We've published over 1,000 case studies, real businesses getting real results on real websites for our clients at our agency link graph. We also have over 34 white papers of single variate tests to understand how do rankings behave in response to changes on landing pages. And we have access to the largest network of instantly programmable websites in history. 10,000 sites are on auto. We've been asking questions like, can a page with schema and nothing else rank? How powerful are internal links for rankings? And do press release backlinks, can they actually influence rankings or can they not? And actually, all of this research we've done, we now have the answers. We're happy to share the insights, what we've learned, because we did it for you guys. So we could all improve, we can get better. And if you want to understand any more of it, just DM me. On Instagram, I'm happy to share. Google, the equation is actually very simple. The ranking decision is created as the product of page quality times ranking signals. Just because it's a simple equation does not mean it's easy. Just because you have grandma's baking recipe for how to make a cake doesn't mean that you can reliably, consistently, easily make grandma's cake as good as she can, okay? You can't. To actually win in SEO today, it's not one thing, it's a confluence of things. Some of them are statistical, some of them are analytical, some of them are subjective, okay? And there are metrics on here that the industry today does not yet know how to quantify, like topical dominance. We don't know how to quantify that. Even the backlink-based authority measures that we're currently using, as I'm going to show you today, are obsolete, fatally flawed, and the user engagement signals, well, how do we measure those? Today we'll show you, answer some of these questions. But first, I'd like to know, what are you guys most excited about? Please raise your hand if you're most excited about building backlinks on powerful sites at scale. Is that most interesting to you? Raise your hand. Cool. Backlink builders over here. What about creating the best content? SEO optimized, semantic content that can rank. Very good. Wow, a lot of people interested in content. Awesome. What about automating on-page SEO? Fantastic. A lot of people are now digging the backlinks. Keep that in mind. Sophia, could you help me with this poll? What did we learn about this poll? Number 2, delete. Okay, so you guys, most of us are here using domain rating to profile sites for backlink building purposes. Okay, it's interesting. Wasn't surprising. This morning, we actually went on Fiverr to see what type of gigs we could find, and we found all of these highly legitimate vendors out here who can help you with that. Boost your domain rating, your domain authority, whatever belief you have, you can boost that number, and guess what? It actually works. And it's like $5. Okay? It's pretty sad. And actually, thanks to Irfan, who leaked the Google Content Warehouse API, we can actually see there's a lot to learn for the anchors database model, which is what Google call backlinks. And hence, index tier. On every backlink, they record the index tier. There are 3 tiers. Those tiers are actually driven not by PageRank, but by search demand, by traffic. It's an interesting hit. And actually, we did a survey of the graph years ago where we correlated and tried to understand, make sense of all these different authority measurements. Domain authority, domain rating, site authority. And you know what we learned is that there's a lot of gray dots on here. I think you guys maybe, can you see these gray dots? Is that coming through? There's a lot of gray dots on that, okay? A lot of sites that Google is not indexing, putting their content into the search results, and yet they have high authority scores. Jeez. Well, you know what? Lake Graph, we may be the largest lake builder in the world. All right, today, I believe this morning we looked and we had built our 152,573rd backlink. Over $25 million we spent on link building. So we know a thing or two about what sites impact rankings from that data panel. And one of the things we understand today is that the truth is these metrics are fatally flawed. We cannot really be using them for link building purposes. And there is a better way, actually. We read a correlation study of our own to understand what is now driving rankings on Google. And what we learned was very insightful. We actually found that traffic-based metrics are more correlated with ranking well in Google than nearly any other metric. Domain power, organic traffic, and organic keywords out-correlate sites that rank well than any of those PageRank-based metrics. And the why is interesting, because if you think about how Google has evolved, right, these PageRank-based methods, there's no way for any SEO software tool to really understand if Google's demoted a website, whether it maybe created a lot of AI spam, and now they've completely removed that website's ability to influence rankings. And so the SEO software tool providers, the software providers, they don't actually really know whether Google is looking at these sites and giving them influence. If you still don't believe me, go to Search Console, click on backlinks, and compare it to any backlink data panel from any SEO data provider, and you will see what I mean. There's a big difference. And so we were grumbling over a couple beers about this problem with my friend Alex. Alex, are you here? ParasiteSEO.com, also the founder of Keyword Hero, great guy. And he encouraged me to pursue this idea of domain power. So we created a new metric called domain power, and it's actually the most highly correlated authority metric with sites that rank well on Google, more so than any of the other metrics that I presented. And we'll give you access to this metric for free, even if you're not paying us. Which brings us to the link building industry's dirty little secret. What is it? It's that most guest posts are in the dead part of the internet that get zero actual traffic, okay? How many of you guys have seen one of these spreadsheets? Did you guys get an email maybe this morning from the link pimps? Dear sir or madam, would you like a backlink? Please buy a backlink. Man, these guys, they really get under my skin. I always gated this because what happens to these sites, and this is an example, right? These are linked farms. These are all linked farms. What happens with these sites is that even if they begin and they have good metrics, over time, the sites get mined out. Google algorithmically demotes the outlinks on those sites. They look at the ratio of inbound to outbound links, and when they see people mining out the website's backlink profile, they demote them. They no longer have influence, which means even if today the metrics look good, SEO is a long-term game. 1 year from now, what are the metrics going to look like? Probably not so good. And then what happens is the publishers of these sites, these lake farms, find out that Google's demoting their site, their traffic's falling, right? Because Google's saying that this site's not able to influence rankings anymore. The publishers get wind of this and they realize that they have to remove the articles or nowhere next to pages. So your precious backlink that you paid $100, $500, $1,000 for, it's gone. We're just sad. But what about getting backlinks from real websites? What if I told you it's possible that we could get backlinks from sites that don't outlink to everybody in their groundhog? What if we could do that? What if that were possible? The only way in my career that I've been able to build backlinks on sites like The Hoff, Just Men's Rings, Verkada, my dear friends who are about to IPO, Hyundai, is through outreach. Connecting to someone on their team, maybe a journalist, but that's time consuming. It takes a lot of time. There's a new way to do it. I'm going to show it to you. It's called Websites Interlink Directly, Fostering Influence, Reputation, and Engagement, or Wildfire. It's a new type of link building. It's fully programmatic, trustless, and programmatically enforced. So sites are suggested based on their topicality, authority, and locality. And you must give in order to get. And it's completely free to participate, okay? It's nearly impossible to get links like this in any other way unless you're doing real outreach. This goes live tomorrow. Things can change. Looks like the image didn't make it on the slide, but the other approach, as I said, is outreach, right? But running outreach campaigns for link building, a lot of agencies say they do it, but they don't actually do it because it's time consuming. It's a very labor intensive process. We've been able to use AI to automate our favorite strategies on the outreach side and allow you to import them into your campaigns. So you can use our templates that we've been using now for the last 7 years to build our publisher database with about 300,000 odd sites. Armand, is it about 300,000? 350. Awesome, 350. Okay, so before we go into content, because so many of you guys are interested in the content side, I want to close out the backlink chapter by saying I believe in the end game of SEO, in the end game of the space. When we talk about zero cost content that's rapidly proliferating, think about how that can demote the content signals. It could be that at the end game of SEO, we come back to backlinks or any off-site factors that are difficult to manipulate, like user behavior signals, that those may have a higher impact. So just think about that. Now let's confront the topic of AI content. And let's talk about why most of the AI content being generated today, I don't think it's going to be around in a year. I think it'll be worthless, if not already. So here's an example of an AI prompt. Got over 500 likes in a well-known SEO community that I saw, Facebook group. And I wonder how many tens of thousands of articles have been written with this. Okay. We look at this, you see people saying, write the article using SEO best practices according to Core I, Manick, or Bhan deal. Do you really think that it's going to do anything with that? If you think that's going to work, there's actually a better way if you wanted to do this. It's called fine-tuning, which we'll talk about. Then there's other instructions about creating an article that's about 2,000 words long. If you want to do that, you've got to be more specific about number of sentences and paragraphs. There's a lot of things wrong with this prompt. Our objective ultimately is to be the best of kind leader document, okay? Within every context that Google is choosing to rank for the SERP, you want to be that guy, right? How do we become that guy? It comes down to these 3 pillars of high-quality AI content generation, Robots. Those 3 levers. The first one is prompt engineering, which I see most people do a decent job with. It's the most intuitive, easily studied, faster prototype and intuitive. There's fine-tuning, which allows us to narrow the bung's behavior and create certain style of content creation, which we'll talk about why it's supported. And the third pillar is retrieval augmented generation. Very few people in this room are probably doing these 2. A lot of us are focused here. But to get the best outputs, we have to focus on how we can use all 3 of them together. So, to unify these 3 pillars, we've created what we call Content Blueprint. Content Blueprint allows us to bring together all 3 of these things. Number 1, the prompt engineering side, where we can encode and actually manipulate the prompts used to build intros, conclusions, images, headings. And then number two, the retrieval augmented generation, where you can do either Google search or Perplexity to bring in new information, new data primitives into your AI generation process. And then third, the fine-tuned model, where you can either choose one of your own fine-tuned models you've already constructed, or you can create a new one with your own content and train it on your website's data or any other data set you want. And through this process, we've actually created a framework where you can do all three of those pillars. And then lastly here, we didn't call it out, but you can even pick your AI model, whether you believe in which LLM got, OpenAI, Claude, Llama, doesn't matter. To show an example of vanilla AI generation, one of the problems with it, this, by the way, is called GLTR. It's an algorithm developed by Harvard and MIT teams where they're able to understand visual forensics of content to figure out what content is AI generated versus human generated. All the green content is bad, actually. So if it's green, it means it appears very frequently in AI generated text. Things like treasure trove, the delve would certainly be green, right? You hate those trite expressions. While other terminology that is not so commonly found appears in red, purple, and even yellow. So when we humanize content and when we follow an approach, we will actually be able to influence this. And this is really important, I think, in the future end game of the space, when Google pays more attention to the signals that show them whether this content is human generated or AI generated. And it doesn't matter whether it's a direct classifier, but whether it's direct algorithms that's evaluated content to see is this AI generated content, or if it's indirect via a spam classifier where they feed it a bunch of spam that's AI generated. Either way, we need to humanize. Another important example of good content is contextual flow. It comes from my friend Korai. So hat tip to Korai for this example of phenomenal contextual flow. Begins with the query dehydration in the center. It approaches the first context that's in this first red box, then moves to the second, and then moves to the third. Bravo, Korai, for having perfect contextual flow. Well played. To show you an example of what bad contextual flow would be is content that's very far away. You actually see in their patents, they talk about this, when they see the contextual flow bouncing all around into all these different areas, that actually hurts the content quality, okay? In the era of zero-cost information, how's Google going to algorithmically evaluate how good the information is? Let's put these pieces together, okay? This is what we know about how the PQ algorithm works. It's used to compute the static information retrieval scores in Google's Alexandria content warehouse, okay? And I'd like to acknowledge and thank Korai and Pavel for their research and contributing to this, because they've done an amazing job helping light the way about how this important algorithm works and helping us reverse engineer it as well. So we created something that's called semantic content heuristics for objective language assessment and review, also known as Scholar. And what Scholar does is it is essentially trying to reverse engineer that algorithm. We've used this algorithm to understand the static information retrieval scores of documents. And what blew me away is that I thought the correlation of the domain power to that trip was good. And then I saw this. This is even more correlated with ranking well on Google. Even if you have low topical authority or site authority and a PageRank traffic basis, if you have good PQ, you can rank content very efficiently. If you're interested in this product, it's going to be launching this week, and you guys are all welcome to try. Next, I want to talk about another really big gap that I think we as an industry have as it relates to topical authority. We've all been talking about topical authority. We know that it's an important metric that Google are studying. They're using it to rank information, rank websites. And I would say behind PQ, it's the most powerful ranking factor. So we all know that we want to build our topical authority. We all want to create more of it. You can't get enough of it. But how much of it do we have versus our competitor? That's a question that we have not been able to answer as of yet. You see, when Google organizes all of its information in Alexandria, they put all of it into what's called a topically clustered inverted index. That's where all the information goes. And they use it to define the contextual domains and borders of the internet. This visualization is a way that we can actually visualize the embeddings of documents that are the same color close together, are semantically close in their topicality. The ones that are further apart are different. And so Google essentially has a cluster like this, all the documents on the internet that they cluster into their contextual zones, into their into their topical spaces. Now, when we look at the content warehouse, we see a couple really interesting metrics that they have in the database. One is a state that's site embeddings. Another is called site focus score, and another one is called site radius. So let's talk about these. What do they actually mean? By site embedding, what they're trying to do is understand, what is our site actually about? Okay? What is the content of our website about? This is a visual representation of what a site embedding actually looks like. Here you can see us navigating through the topical clusters of a site, and you can see that this information is organized topically into these little other regions. When we think about site radius, okay, here's an example of a site that has very high site radius. The source context of the website is here. Somewhere in here is the central search intent of what this domain is all about. These clusters over here are actually not related. These are actually hurting the site. It's causing topical dilution. And what we've seen in our case studies is that by pruning this content, eliminating it, the rankings go up. Because what Google wants to see is sites that have a narrow radius, that are concentrated around one single topic. If you go too broad with your topicality, you will actually hurt the rankings of a website. So now, I made a promise that I'd show you how we quantified topical authority, or as we're calling it, topical dominance, as well as site focus and site radius. So let me show you what we did. The way it works is you plug in a set of domains. We analyze the rankings and the keywords of those domains, and we ascribe a topicality to them. We then evaluate the topical search volume, topical visibility of each of these domains for each one of these topical areas. Now, what's so interesting is there's a site here called Link Builder IO. How many of you have heard of Link Builder IO? Link Builder IO was actually acquired by my friend Mark, the founder of The Hoff. These guys have outranked us for a long time. And if you looked at their site, their authority is actually very low. They don't have a lot of backlinks. But what they do have is top dominance. You see that yellow circle? That's them dominating the link building topic here, way greater than we are. And you'll see when we put all these sites into this axis, we'll see each one of them, even though they're all SEO-related domains, they're SEO in different ways. SEO tools, white label services, general SEO, domain authority. So there's these different topical areas. What's complicated about this is that Google, they sometimes rebalance their topical zones, and it's hard to know exactly whether certain keywords fall on one and the other. But irrespective of that, when we run this sort of analysis, it gives us a lot of insight. The next thing that we can do is take all of our competitors and grab all of the topics that they're ranking for and figure out what's our topical gap. What are the topics, what are the keywords, what are the pages that they have that we don't have? If we actually reverse engineer the topical gap, we create all this content. It's a way that we can steal their topical authority. Now, if they have a high amount of SERP data, they've been ranking there for a while, it can be challenging. So one of the things that helps break that is have a strong content momentum. And Korai talks about this quite a bit. Content momentum is this idea that we can keep publishing and we maintain a consistent frequency of publishing content to our websites. The content momentum tool in Search Atlas is going live this week, and it allows us to benchmark the differences in the content velocity of our competitors to see how much content are they putting out versus us. Okay. To close the content topic, you've now covered also backlinks. I want to talk about how the search landscape is evolving to include platforms beyond Google, like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, others. Google is obviously still 3 orders of magnitude more from a daily search query perspective, right? Google, way more search queries. But if we look at Google Trends, what we'll see is that the total amount of search volume, people searching for ChatGPT, it's growing, okay? And if you wait to think about this until they get all the way up there, it may be too late. A lot of us are still living in a Google-dominated world, and that's fair, because Google is still the king. But that may not be the case forever. And there may be very good and legitimate reasons that we should focus on this topic right now. The 3 most important questions that we should be asking are, number 1, how do we track our visibility in the LLMs? And then how do we increase it? Next is how do we get indexed by an LLM? And then how do we push information into the LLMs? So first, to gain visibility in the LLMs, we have Quest. What Quest does is it is a database of 150 million questions and answers that allows us to analyze the visibility in LLMs for any brand, for any query, for any topic. So it identifies the source documents that ChatGPT are using. Then it gets the contact information for those websites and allows you to outreach to the authors, to the webmasters, to get our brand, your brand, inserted into the source document. And that's a very effective way to put our story into the large language models. Also remember that a lot of people, even if they're not searching these LLMs, they're using them to generate content. And so having visibility in the LLMs is a good thing because it allows our brands to show up when other people are using AI to create content. The next challenge we talked about was understanding to what extent the LLMs are indexing our site's content. Now, obviously, GSC crawl stats tells us everything about Google and Google's indexation of our content, right? But what about all the other bots that crawl our site? There's GPT bot, there's OAI search bot, there's Claude bot. This one's interesting, CC bot. Anyone know what that is? Someone said Common Crawl, very good. That's the Common Crawl bot. These LLMs use the Common Crawl data corpus to feed themselves with information. How many of you guys actually know when the last time these crawlers actually came to index your content? Very few. And that's fair because honestly, analyzing log files sucks, right? Getting the Apache, the Nginx log file from the server, it's not fun. And then you got to get it again and again and again if you want to refresh the analysis. So what we did is we connected it into Auto. You install the technology on the site. Anytime the crawlers come and index the pages of the site, we take note, we monitor it in real time so we can show it to you. So no log files necessary whatsoever. And then finally, we know if the LLMs consume content from news websites, right? Like the Associated Press, Reuters, BBC News, New York Times. So about 3 months ago, we bought the third largest newswire in the world called Single Genesis so that we can get our content into the news sites, push our way in so that our story, we can get it into the LLM, even if we're not getting indexed, even if we can't control the source documents that they're using. And so to tie it all together, all this capability that I showed you today is building up to Auto SEO. And Auto stands for one-click trusted, transparent optimization of SEO. It's the culmination of everything I've shown today and my life's work. And it's the holy grail of Dynamic SEO, which uses Auto, the AI model, brings in your first-party data to execute the holistic SEO framework of authority, content, technicals, UX and behavior, and even a connection to the GBP, and allows us to push this to the web property, instantly implementing our changes. And then, in response to Google and the crawlers and everything else that's happening, analyze the impact of those changes, and then use that to go back and fine-tune our approach to then repeat the cycle. This is what we call dynamic SEO, and it's what I believe is the future of this industry. And there are many ways I can show you the proof of the impact of this. One is through time saved, which is saved for this business over 2,000 days of effort. It's significant. How do we know the amount of effort saved? Well, based on the amount of time it takes to execute these individual strategies, we tallied it up for each of these different components. And this is how it all breaks down right here. The key is SEO velocity, right? The speed to deploy meaningful improvements, propose full actions to the website. And this is the only way to do it, I believe, the fastest. Auto has over 10,000 websites in production running on this technology. It is the largest ongoing SEO case study and experiment of all time. And I'm really confident about it because for all these 10,000 sites, we have access to the GSC data, the GBP data, the GA4 data, and I can know how this is working. Some of you might be thinking, oh, this isn't going to work on my e-commerce site. Or maybe it's not going to work on my local business. Or maybe my site's too enterprise for this, right? All of you guys, it works in every vertical, every CMS, every platform, every page builder. It is a universal solution for dynamic SEO for all. First case study I'm going to share, we're going to zip through these, is a SaaS company. We got ranking #1 in Google for the keyword ranked. That was pretty cool. We beat out weather.com for rain. So that was great. And you can see the, as we call it, the traffic owner from implementing auto on the site. It's cool. Here's another case study from a online casino that also implemented auto. And this required some pruning of the content because there was a lot of extraneous content on the domain that was away from the central search tab and what we call dynamic content optimization. Here's another one for a DUI law firm in Texas. And we can see when auto was implemented and the ensuing result of increasing total number of ranked keywords as well as traffic. And now monthly organic traffic value of this site is $232,000. Their monthly campaign budget's like $5K. So needless to say, very happy about the results. Here's a case study for a local client, a mental health group in Wisconsin. And just over 30 days, massive transformation to local rankings. Here's another local example for addiction treatment and a rehab center. Here's one for RV warranties. You can see when auto and this technology was implemented over here. And here's another one for golden visas. It's pretty cool. Immediate response from Google. And honestly, the most exciting thing to me is not my case studies, it's the community's case studies. Because this is showing, and they've now actually outpaced us for how fast they're developing case studies on this technology. Here's someone that actually, I don't know him, but he showed that he was originally in position 25. Within 7 days, position 1 of Google right away. Chris Green saying it works, and others sort of attesting to the results that they've been able to get with this technology. Some of you guys might know my friend Dre from SEO Video Show. And I was on a show, and Dre said, there's no way this works. Like, no way it works. It's like, all right, man, take it for a spin. Well, I got a personal injury lawyer client, and I can't get the rankings to budge. It's like, great, perfect. You're going to give me your hardest client, you use our platform for that? Let's see what happens. Boom. 30 days, and Dre barely implemented all of the components of the platform, just a few, and the ranking improvement was massive. Now, this is personal injury lawyer. This is like over $200 cost per click. So those clicks right there, tens of thousands of dollars. Huge impact. And here's what it looks like in Google search. Positive ranking state in just 7 days. We're not going to have time to talk about auto Google ads, but it's coming. This is a full search solution. Our vision is not just organic search, but paid search, because the future of search, who knows what happens to the blue links on page 1 of Google. And the history of Google is that they are always making us pay to get more of our organic traffic back. So we believe that we needed to also build this solution. And we've also going to be launching a publisher exchange this week, bringing our 350,000 publishers to you guys. You'll be able to buy links directly from them. So now, I'd just like to close with a few concluding remarks to just cover where we've been, what we've done today. We've talked about backlinks. We've talked about the metrics that are involved that we've been using as an industry. We presented new metrics that are more correlated with ranking on Google than the ones that we started with. We talked about content and AI generation. We talked about the dimensionality to how we could improve AI content outputs. We talked about Scholar. We talked about topical dominance. We talked about auto. A lot has been said today. You see, we are committed to this vision of dynamic SEO, and we believe that we will be leaders in this technology. And there's no other choice for us, but we must be the best at this. So we've made a commitment that we will master this and take this vision as far as we can take it. And what we're interested in are other people who see the same vision that we do and believe in what we can do with AI and software automation to change the future of SEO. And if you're interested in that, please come find us. On Wednesday, we're going to be going to an elephant sanctuary. We're going to be making a donation of $5,000. Please come and join us. We also have a booth here somewhere, and you'll see my team with the nice bucket hats and me as well. Just come find me and say hi. And you guys are welcome to be in touch with me. Anything you saw today you were interested in, you want to use it, just send me a message, and I'd be more than happy to connect you to our research, to the software, to the tools, so you can evaluate them and try them for yourselves. Thank you guys so much.